perspective of it. It's pretty cool. All right, we ready to go? Okay, let's do this. One more review of all the equipment that you're gonna need. A bench with some kind of weights. They don't have to be heavy. A mat. We are gonna have an anchor, I'd say about knee height, with a couple of different bands on here. I have on a 1/4 inch and an inch, okay, my 2 bands. If you don't know what tension you're gonna need, put on 3 or 4 of them, okay, load up a little bit. And then a very light dumbbell, a 2, a 5, a 7, a 10, nothing heavy, okay? We're gonna need a box that we can do some kind of step up on. I've got a weight, and I also have another 1/4 inch band that I'm gonna be able to use here. I'll also show you how to do this with like a mini band and a couple other things that we can utilize if you don't have a whole bunch of these, okay? Probably the one piece of equipment I would say buy quite a few of are those orange, either from Rogue or Perform Better, whoever you get them from, they're all orange. Those 1/4 inch bands, you can use those for so much. Especially if you work with older populations, it's one of the best things to have. I have 2 chairs set up. I'm only gonna, well, you only need 1, but I have 2 up. You can do a sit to stand with a carry, go out and then come back. I like to do a sit to stand and then transfer to here and do a sit to stand. And so I get a couple options in there as we go, okay? All right, basic mobilities. There's like 3 where every day I'm like, we have to do these 3. And then beyond that, it could be a more mirrored exercise that's going to, you know, kind of prep and not the exact same, but the same muscle groups, the same movement pattern, those actions to prepare everybody for the exercises they're gonna do. So the 3 that I wanna do with you to start off, very, very simple. We're gonna bridge, we're gonna do bird dogs, and we're gonna do half kneeling windmills. And with everything that we do, and I know a lot of you, you're like, I already know this. Ideally, if we go through these just bit by bit and we talk about the anatomy that we're doing, they're little things that when you watch someone do a bridge and you watch someone do a bridge with their toes up, it's a whole different feel. You watch them do it with their toes up and their feet elevated, it's a whole different feel. So with every exercise, I'm hoping there's one little thing where you're like, oh, I've never thought of it that way, or never. That's the whole idea of having like this anatomical kind of look through the trainer eye, right, of what the actions we're doing. And what better way to learn those than by doing them here together, right? And kind of going through, and you can feel the differences as we go through and modify things a little bit, okay? All right, so the bird dog. Let's start with that. I'm gonna show you front and then we'll turn to the side. I like to do both, alternating and then same sides as well, okay? So I think there's some good challenge there. I have wrist issues, carpal tunnel issues, and some ligament issues on both of my wrists. So anytime I'm in the 6-point position, I go on my knuckles, but that's not something you have to do. But it's a great alternative for your clients. A lot of our older population clients, they're gonna have issues getting into that extended position, right, of the wrist. So, you know, knuckle position, neutral position in here to start. Nothing wrong with that, especially if you're on a mat. They should feel pretty comfortable, or at least on a box if you're bringing them up to the floor, okay? So knuckle position or flat rib, whichever one you want. And when we teach these, I like to establish the leg first, and then the opposite arm will come up. And notice my chin is neutral. And I'm gonna reach as long as I can. I'm not worried about height, okay? Don't care about height. I'm worried about length. As long as I can. And the idea of this is to get from my gastroc, really, of my left, to my hamstring of my left, to my glute of my left, to then cross section to the erectors of my right, lats of my right, rhomboid posterior delt of my right, and then reaching through that. So it's very cross-sectional. And if you think about cross-sectional, what else is that we do constantly through our day that's cross-sectional? Walking, right? You do a contralateral, opposite arm, opposite leg when you walk. So in a sense, in a very minimal level, bird dogs and getting really efficient in bird dogging has, really good at bird dogging, has a very good transfer right into our gait control and our ability to work properly that way. So that's why I'm not worried about them like arching their back and getting really good height. I want the length and the activation, because that's what we're gonna do when we're walking tall with good postures, okay? So let's pop down here, and I just wanna do 10 of these, okay? Opposite arm, opposite leg, reach as long as you can. And on the back leg, dorsiflex, pull your toe up, reach through your heel, thumb up on the right arm, and reach as long as you can, and squeeze your left butt cheek and your right shoulder blade, and then bring them down. Opposite, right, reach the left, establish, now squeeze the two together like you're trying to pull them together and touch your shoulder blade and your butt. and then switch. Up, reach, squeeze, and switch. Up, reach, squeeze, and switch. Do you guys feel that cross section? You feel that activation when you do that? You should. And it's a very active action with a very deliberate training purpose. Give me one more. And relax. Now, I'm sure we all have that client. It's like bird dogs, these are stupid, and they just burn through them. When you slow them down a little bit and you really get those muscle actions to fire one to the other, and you teach them that squeeze we just did, there's a little more emphasis on let's value this a little bit, okay? So I like that. Now our next one, remember I said we'll do 20. We're gonna do same side bird dogs now. Now why do this if we're training for contralateral movement all the time? The ipsilateral action, if you joined our physical limitation course, we just did the lower back on Wednesday, right? One of the biggest or the most stressed lower back injury occurs from an ipsilateral hinge and reach. And the one that we hear the most is someone reaching behind their dryer to get laundry that fell down there, to clean out the vent or whatever it is, because they put the right foot forward and they reach forward with their right hand to get around, because you're like stuck in that. You can't do this contralateral. So because your hinge probably around a little bit, and then you're ipsilaterally reaching, you're really opening yourself in an exposed position for an injury. So if we can train for that protocol, for that action, I think that could be really beneficial for our clients long term. Because naturally we kind of do everything contralateral because it's very stable, and it's you know, that connects for us. Right foot, left hand. That's an opposite angle way to brace in whatever we're going to prepare to push, pull, press, carry, etc. So if we can train this ipsilaterally, prone position, 6-point position on the floor, no vertical load, right? This gives us a very good opportunity to train that action now, but without a whole lot of stress on the body. So the way we teach this is we open the hands a little wider, and then we teach them to shift, because you're going to have a shift, or else you're just going to fall over. Now, once I've shifted, I'll do my left leg, and then I'm going to reach up with my left arm, and I'm going to try to stabilize, and then I'm going to return them together, shift to the other side, reach my leg, reach my arm, reach my arm, stabilize, and then return. And these are tricky. But if you have them go that slow, I mean, I can look like a stud by just throwing up on each side. All I'm doing is counterweighting and falling over smoothly, okay? So if you get them to stabilize and hold it, reap benefit way much more, okay? Way more. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. I've been up since 2, guys, so we had to prep really early this morning. So, all right, open the hands a little wider, shift to your right, lift up your left leg, stable, lift up your left arm, hold it, and bring them down together. Shift to the left, raise the right leg, raise the right arm, hold it, and return. We're gonna get 10 of these, let's go. Shift, stable. The more you practice these, the better you will get at them. Same with our clients, they will get better. And you wanna pause every time. Show like, I've got this, I've got control. I've got this, I've got control. And now how do we advance this just a little bit harder? Take a look at me here. My left knee and my left hand are not in alignment. You guys see that? Now, if I really want to make this challenging, bring everything into alignment. Try it now. Still do the shift. But boy, is that a lot harder, okay? Just a ton of recruitment. Because now instead of being on like just a more narrow, in my 6-point position, I'm on a railroad track, right? When I move my hands out just a little bit, but I shift to the same side, it's just a more narrow railroad track. But now I'm completely on a balance beam. Very, very difficult. So the one I showed you in the beginning, that's kind of an intro, right? The first couple pieces we would do, first couple efforts we would do of ipsilateral, same side, bird dogs with a client. Okay, now our next one, half kneeling windmill. Love this guy, okay? Half kneeling position, watch my back leg. I should show you here, so you guys can see it on the tape. Okay, so I'm on my line here on the back, right? I'm gonna take my right foot, I'm on my right knee, I'm gonna take my right foot, I'm gonna pivot it off. And if you've done get-ups before, this same action, okay? Unlock your pelvis, and I call that a sassy hip, very sassy. You want to put that butt out, put your right hand to the floor, fist or hand, either one, and unload. We have to completely unload. If you don't unload, your obliques, your erectors, your QL, all your lateral flexors, stabilizers, all this, they're all still on. So when I rotate and I'm trying to extend and trying to get the benefit of like elongating and creating this cross-sectional stretch, if I just touch my hand here or I don't put anything down at all those muscles that I'm trying to get a passive stretch out of, they're not passively doing anything. They're actively holding me from falling over. So you've got to put all your weight down. And this is a huge coaching component for the client. You got to put your weight down here. You have to deload, like completely unload your body. Put all your weight on your arm. And then this should be very passive, open and breathing out as you rotate to there. Hinge back, bring the hip in, sassy hip out, unload again, open. And notice how far away I am, okay? I'm pretty far out away from my knee. And then I'm coaching them with each effort, bring it in a little closer. Okay, do this with me. Bring it in a little closer. And then eventually I want to be like 2 or 3 inches from my knee. That's going to increase my range of motion, but it's also going to mimic more of my get up where I'm in a little closer in a little tighter position, okay? All right, let's switch to the other side. Knee, toe on the line. I'm right down the pipe. I'm going to pivot about 45 degrees off. Sassy hip over to the side, completely unload. Open, let my air out. Return the hip. Open, return the hip. Passive. Let the obliques open. Let the ribs open. Let the stretch occur, okay? It's a great feel. You should feel that breath out every time. Good, let's get one more. And relax, okay. So what about clients that can't go in the kneeling positions for these? Get 2 of these boxes, one of the best things you can invest in. They're expensive, but they're worth it. 2 of those, and you have them kneel onto that and side hinge and do all their actions on those. You just basically bring the floor up to them, okay? Or if we need to, you can do a bird dog from the standing position. I can be here and do my opposite arm, my opposite leg, because I'm on 2 different heights and my base is so wide, like that contralateral, ipsilateral, a lot of that balance coordination stuff isn't as challenging, okay? So I prefer them to be on boxes that are raised, 12 inches, maybe 18 inches if I need, and then to be able to do the exact same thing we just showed, okay? All right, cool. All right, the last mobility is a traditional, regular old, everyday bridge. A very specific way that I like to teach these. So come on down. Okay, so I talk about a checklist when we bridge. And I want you to think about every joint of the body as a pulley, okay? And I know they don't all exactly work like that, but I want you to think of them that way, okay? If my toes are down and I elevate my hips, how did I get my hips up there? More than likely, by putting my toes down, I put my gastroc on slack, I put my anterior tib on slack, I put my hamstring on slack. So really the only thing left to help me elevate my hip is my back and my quads. And more than likely, it's just gonna be quad dominant. So the more bridging I do from here, more than likely with each bridge, I'm pushing with my quads. I'm gonna just slowly start sliding back. My shirt will start to cinch up into my neck. And the next thing I know, I've got a rub mark on the back of my head because every one I up and I up and I up and I up and I slowly inch away. Now, if we invert that, okay, lift your toes up, full dorsiflex. So now the anterior tib is on. When the anterior tib is active, and then I pull my heels down into the floor, my gastroc fires, okay? So now both sides of the pulley at the knee, both sides of the pulley at the ankle are on. And if I pull my heels towards my butt, my hamstrings fire, okay, they're on. And then my quad as an agonist, agonist, antagonist, counter, my quads are gonna be engaged. They're not doing a whole lot of action, but they're engaged. And then as I pull my heels to my butt and I continue to lift my heels towards my cheeks and my cheeks fire, I've created a pulling elevation. and your hamstring, some of you might have just done this and been like, oh cow, like that, it just snipered you in the hamstring. That's the first time you've actually used your hamstrings to pull yourself up rather than your quads to push yourself up, okay? In all hinges, even if you're laying down, it's still a pulling action. All hinges are pulls, okay? They have to be. That's the mechanical action, is the hamstring's gonna pull you out of the hinge every time you come up. It doesn't do any other action. The quads are always gonna push. They don't do any other action. So if I'm trying to push from here, I'm not really creating a true hinging action. I'm just pushing myself. I'm trying to stand up while I'm laying on my back, right? So I want you to dig your heels in, lift your toes up pretty hard, take your shoulder blades and tuck them underneath you. That's your platform. Pull your elbows down into the floor here so your upper body is active. And then when you're ready, pull your heels to your butt and just lift up. Lift up. Give me like 30 of these, lift up. And you're gonna feel with each one of these lifts, and you should see it, right? You should see every time you come up, you should see your hamstrings gripping, like trying to pull your heel to your butt, almost like you're trying to pull your heel out of your shoes, but not up out of your shoes, like straight back, okay? So give me about 30 of those. And with each squeeze you come up, pull in there. And if it bites on you and it cramps on you, it's showing you, number one, this is an action you have to train more, and your clients are the same thing. And they're like, oh boy, that's really, it cramps. It's, oh, and you're gonna see them doing this guy, right? It's the first time they've ever actually used their hamstrings to do this. This is a good sign. And if you really need to sell it to a client, put their heel on a box, which we're gonna do here in a little bit, and have them just slowly try to rock the box towards them. And if they do that rock and lift, oh my goodness, like it's pure hamstring glute. We've annihilated and just taken away the quad dominance of this bridge action just from one simple cue. Lift your toes up, and two, lift your toes up, dig your heels in. Dig your heels in, you'll feel it instantly. So in some cases, that's a more advanced move. That move is required to get them to understand the anatomy of the hamstring and how that bite has to occur to help you achieve the proper bridge, okay? Mechanical components like this, we have to understand them, we have to cue and coach them, but if you give them the why, that is probably the most important piece that we can give them. Clients aren't dumb, right? They want to understand this as they go through, and you're going to have some that are like, I don't care, I just want to do. Yeah, but when you have this knee issue or you have this back issue, and I'm cueing you on this and it's targeting that spot, this is how we overcome your back. I need you to care, right? When you kind of wrap that back around their mind, they're like, okay, maybe I should pay a little more attention. Because if you just keep quad dominating this, your hip flexors are going to keep hurting, your back's going to keep hurting. Like we're not solving the anatomical math equation, right? To try to fix their problem. I need a solution. What is the solution? So we have to coach and cue that stuff. It's very important for that. All right, so mobilities are done there. Typically now we would go into actions that would kind of mimic our workout. So today we're gonna bench press, we're gonna do step ups, we're gonna do RDLs. So I would do some kind of loaded RDL now. Let's just say with a barbell, okay? I do an RDL, and then I would do a kneeling push-up, okay? Both knees push-ups. The only time I do push-ups on the knees is when we're warming up. You could do a band anchored behind you. We call it a wall press, like chest press position. We could do that. Anything that's gonna prepare them to bench press without actually bench pressing yet. And then if we have a day where it's like, we're gonna go heavy on the bench and then I'll do bench press, but I'll just do it really light, and then they can add up as we go. And then for the step up, I need some kind of split variation. So I might do long gate steps. I might do pushback lunges or alternating step back lunges, something like that, a split squat, something that's gonna prep me for that step up position, okay? All right, I got people texting. That is not you guys, okay. Hold on just a second. So make sure I got everybody in here. Pretty exciting to have so many of you guys on, so thank you. And then we're gonna go over to the anchor here. You're gonna need 2 dumbbells, and you are gonna need a band that is anchored at like knee height, okay? And I'm thinking probably the yellow will be ideal, yellow or a black, an inch or a half an inch, because I don't need you to blow up, okay? I just want you to have it. Okay, so when we're hinging, the anticipation of the hinge, if I just have a barbell or just a band or just a dumbbell, there's one action of load, okay? Gravity is always pulling on us, and wherever I'm doing that action, the weight is 30 pounds, it's always 30 pounds. The band that I'm holding is 10 pounds to 20 pounds, but the action's always coming from one direction. So what I like about this one is that we're gonna have two actions, okay? I wanted to give you something that's just a little bit different, a little bit more unique, but still achieving some pretty good actionable goals for the client. So dumbbell of your choice, doesn't have to be heavy. And when we do these as well, even though this band is super low, just a good safety precaution for clients. Unless the band is at the bottom anchor, like completely at the bottom, I'm about 2 feet up. I'm still asking them to get into the band over the top. And though it might be kind of goofy or it might rub on their skin a little bit, it's so much better of a practice for them than to leave it on the ground, step in, pull it up, do their set, and then they drop out of here and they're like, okay, I'm good. And then as they go to step away, it pulls them down because you rubber to rubber sticks really well. So there's a great opportunity for them to fall and catch a foot or catch a toe, and they end up eating it. So unless the band is completely at a low anchor, is the only time I'll let them step in and out, because it can be completely flat and I'll have them step all the way out of it while looking at it still. I just don't want this to become an injury prone opportunity for something that could be so beneficial, okay? All right, so I've got my band on just above my hip. For clients with hip replacements, I have 2 of them, 1 in each, okay? I have to say that. I've had 3 on the left side. Well, it's funny, I've had 3, 1 on my right, 2 on my left, and I had a full revision, like a whole redo on the left because it dislocated. So I guess it makes sense for me to say it to you. But the femoral head that's sitting there sits in this new capsule, right? Now, if I put a band below that capsule here, and that band keeps pulling on this head that no longer has a labrum, no longer has the geleneal muscles, like there's nothing that at a base level is holding it in place. The second that I kind of relax, that band is pulling and leading towards an anticipation of dislocation. So with clients with hip replacements, dislocation is a very big concern for us, or even just little sublux, or slippage is another term, where the head will kind of slip out real quick and go back, and it just stresses the joint and aggravates and it hurts. So that's something we drastically want to avoid. So I just put the band higher. You could put it way up on the hip, like where your dad wears his shorts at, right? Like where my dad wears his at, like his belly button. So you just put them up, you just put it up higher. So now I don't have to worry about it putting pressure at that joint at all. I just know we're good. And then I'm gonna walk forward to a position where the band is pulling and displacing my hips, but it's not so much weight. I'll do it at an angle here so you guys can see me. It's not so much weight where I'm like, I'm leaning. I have an inertia lean to stay here. If I stay upright at this tension, the band is gonna win and it's gonna pull me. I wanna find a position where I'm like, okay, there's good tension here. I can handle this, I can stay here, but the band is gonna pull me into displacement. And that's the whole idea. Remember we just did the bridge, right? Now in that bridge, as I'm pulling my hips up, not pushing, so I'm pulling my hips up. Imagine I put like 100-pound sandbag on your lap and you did the exact same action. You would have to like pull up into that weight to get it up into that high bridge position, right? Same idea here. I'm just standing now, okay? So I want the band to pull me. It's probably pulling like 60 pounds. And as I go into my hinge, it's probably at about 40 pounds of pressure, but now I need to lift into it when I come up. Let it go, lift into it. Like I need assertiveness, okay? Let the hamstrings out, eccentric, and then squeeze your cheeks and pull your hammies in. Not like this, not where at the top you pull your pelvis underneath you. I can't stand that, okay? When you look at the anatomy of the sciatic nerve running through, go and look at Lauren Irk's yoga page. She just put up a picture of this last night that shows the pelvic tilt position and then the sciatic nerve running through the foramen and where the psoas muscle is, okay? And it's a great visual. When you see that, you're like, oh, that's why pelvic tilt hurts this so much. So when people do deadlifts and they're at the top and they do this like that lockout of like, I got it. What's wrong with just standing up tall? Why do we have to pull the butt like underneath into that lock position? I see it in kettlebell swings. I see it in cleans. Like that tilt position it protects your back so much more. And I don't really see like, what is the purpose of over exaggerating the finish? There's really no benefit to it. You don't go any higher, right? And you're definitely not in a more stable position. So remember, all of this, I'm coming back to an anatomical understanding. If there's a performance value to it, then maybe that's a performance coach can explain. But I'm looking back at this as an anatomical stack of musculature. Why do I want to pull at like the greatest load and the highest point of the lift? Why do I want to pull all of my foundation into a bad position? That just doesn't click for me. So that's a heavy cued component for us. Just stand up tall. Don't over tuck, don't over arch. You know, you don't want to stop short. I mean, I want to stand tall into this. And then the other cue is bring your hips in, but don't like credit card your ass cheeks, right? Like you don't have to, those are official terms. Don't credit card your ass cheeks. Every time I say it, I like make myself blush, but there's really no better way of coaching that, of like the ass cheek squeeze, right? We don't need to do that. Just let your hammies out, stand up tall, feel your hamstrings, feel your glutes on, let it out, pull in. Okay. Now you notice I'm holding one weight, not two. Why are we doing that? I'm overloading. Remember cross sections? We've been talking about that. If I'm holding in my left, I've got an extra 15 pounds over here. So as I'm taking my eccentric hinge stretch, I'm getting a cross section from my lower left lumbar across and down into my right hammy. And that right hamstring's having to do just a little bit more diagonal cross-sectional stretch. Because I have the same weight on the same side and our musculature is crossed like that, right? They make that, that's why we rotate so well when we do things, okay? Tennis, golf, all that. That rotation naturally wants to occur. So the counter opposite of where I'm holding is gonna be like a primary mover for me, okay? So if I want to address just a little extra hamstring, I'm just gonna put a weight on this side, and now let's get 10 of these. And with each one that you do, just kind of get back, let it pull you back, let it stretch you, stand tall. Let it stretch you, stand tall. And you'll notice as I'm going here too, like I'm lifting my feet up, my toes up just a little bit, not so far where I lose balance and I'm just 100% heel dominant, but it's like mid-foot, light toes. And that'll keep you from getting into like that forward inertial lean or just the heavy toe dominance, okay? So we did our 10, let's go to the other hand now. And I want you to just feel the difference now that we've shifted our weight. Though it's not a ton of weight, you guys feel lighter in your left side now? Do you feel that difference? Okay, because you're learning to recruit from that contralateral side. So these actions, when we continually ask our clients to always be even, are we doing the true benefit to them? Because what they're doing through their day is not of true benefit. You know what I mean? Like, if they're an office worker and they carry a briefcase, they don't have two briefcases, they have one. Ladies carry a purse, guys carry a man purse, a satchel, whatever, right? Anything that we're carrying, like I carry a backpack. When I get my backpack on, until I get to my truck, I just sling it on my right shoulder and I carry it out. And then I put it in. When I get here, I have other shit to carry, so I put it all the way on. But for that first 2 minutes, 2 minutes, it's just on my right side. So I've got an extra 25, 30 pounds of stuff on this right side. My lower left lumbar is learning to be more stable to counter that bag that I'm always carrying. Every single day for 40 years that I've been doing this, even all the way to grade school, right? Or however long you're doing this, like those actions aren't gonna change. So if I wanna train people to not get hurt in those positions, everything we do in here though, it's like your feet have to be even. You have to have both weights. We need to train for these imbalances. And that's a great example how to do it. That's a true cross section. I'm getting two actions, the weight pulling down, the band pulling me back. So now my body's having to like stabilize. Wow, we've got extra load, but we've got an extra tension that's yanking us into another spot. So you learn to manipulate these two loads, and your body starts to learn to to count like it's like a multitask muscularly, okay? It's a pretty cool feeling when you get done. And when that band's on you for a while, like you feel light, you feel like a ninja afterwards, like you could just bounce around, okay? So I like that sensation. There's kind of a part to that too. Like when we look at drags, simulated drags, you hold a band, you walk away, and you come back, there's a certain amount of tension that's always on you. And then when you're done, you feel very light because your core had to be on that whole time. The core's like, I got it. And for however many reps, 10, and then the other side 10. That could be 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes under tension. Think of a core recruitment I just got from always resisting 25 pounds, 10 pounds, 25, 10, 25. It's always resisting something. So always checking boxes, always additional, resistance, okay? All right, so now we're gonna switch. I'm spending way too much time on each one of these. Sorry, guys. I get rolling and I can't help it. Like, we might need to do another one of these. So, and if you guys like this, like, let me know. Obviously, I don't mind talking, okay? And I'm going to get a bunch of people to come on here and listen to me. I'll deliver some content. So if you like this, please tell me. If you don't, I won't do another one of these. But if I get some feedback, I'll keep doing these. I enjoy it. Okay, your dumbbell, the pinky end. Vitally important what we're about to do here, okay? You have an ability, strength-wise, to stabilize load from this end of your hand, from my ring finger down, that you do not from these top two. And it's because of all the stuff we do, these neutral rotations that we do. So, and I'll prove it to you. I want you to put the band on, the dumbbell, the pinky end of the dumbbell, okay? And I want you to come back, and this is just a pull start. Put your right foot behind you. I'm holding with my right hand. Just keep it neutral. And I want you to do like 5 of these. Feel that tension. Feel how stable it is for your hand. And then come up, and now switch it. Put it on the thumb end. Now, I know we did it second. We only did 5. You shouldn't be fatigued, okay? And now feel that when you pull. Do you feel how the dumbbell like tips and it keeps pulling thumb end down? It's really hard to keep that dumbbell vertical, okay? It's because we're not as strong stabilizing pressures that pull me from thumb down as I am from pinky up, okay? There's some structural mechanics in here from actions that we do every single day with all our movements, where we're much more stable with load through these 2 fingers. And there was a doctor here that I worked with. I forget his name, but he invented the E3 grip. It was grips that people would hold when they run, so they weren't clenching their hands all the time, which turned out to be like a 15 or 20% effort, like a wasted effort of people like clenching their arms while they ran long distances. So they had these grips that would make noise if you clenched them too tight, and they had these like really anatomically correct finger positions. And he found that your greatest strength was from your ring finger to your thumb as far as clenching, as opposed to any of the others. So in a lot of the grip strength stuff we do, I'll say, squeeze your ring finger, and you'll feel better stability there. So it's not that we don't want to train a weakness. I'm trying to maximize my pull on this lift. I want to put this in the best stable position, so I'm not jacking people's wrist up, because I already know it's not as strong as it could be. I'll address that on something else with my reverse grips or something else, okay? So pinky end, come on back, right foot, we're in contralateral to start. Let's say we're doing 15 of these, okay? 16 of these. So I'm gonna focus on my ring finger. I'm pulling it back to my rib, full extension, pulling back. So though I'm getting a rowing action, I've got 5, 10, 15 pounds. I'm holding a 12.5 here. The whole time, if I relax my arm, my deltoid isn't on, my 12.5 is gonna drop. So it's kind of like an isometric for the shoulder to hold this weight, but I'm not holding the full 12.5 pounds. The leverage of the band is taking like half of it, right? So leverage band to leverage me, I can manipulate more load. A little tighter, a little less, a little tighter, a little less. I do 8, and then I'm gonna switch my feet into that ipsilateral pull, and all of a sudden I'll feel the side shift, the tension and the reaction of which I'm pulling. Everything shifts because I'm so strong here and I'm really weak here, right? And you think like, how can this foot position change so much? We do so many natural actions contralaterally that as soon as we switch the base, the angle of pull, the muscle recruitment, everything can change. So it's a great practice on your end as the pro to allow them opportunities to fill in those blanks, to fill in the voids, right? So if I'm trying to like maximize and I'm testing or something like that, then I'll put them in a contralateral and I'll let them go. But if we're just training through cycles, days that I don't need maximal effort, so we're not trying to, achieve a super high peak or whatever we're going for, I'll do 8 and then I'll switch ipsilateral and do 8. Or if we're really weak at ipsilateral, I'll do ipsilateral first because I'm fresh, right? Like my body's good. I'm not exhausted, not from rep to rep. Overall, maybe I'm exhausted. But from this exercise to the next, from legs to arms, my upper body's had a chance to rest. So let's hit ipsilateral first while I'm fresh in this action. Now I'm fatigued. Let's switch to where I'm already strong, and then I'll crank that out, right? So those mechanics, those pieces you come into, you got to start thinking about this. And I love to, I don't harp, but I just love to, I love to embrace the idea of understanding the anatomy more than just, you know, a base anatomical position. That's why I say, like, you got to look at these movements through our eyes, through the trainer's eyes, and see how many boxes we can check. Like, let's see how many things we can accomplish. Because there's probably 5 or 6 things we're doing right now that I might need to do one exercise for each to really benefit it. And I just merged it all into one thing, right? So now if I only get to see people twice a week for an hour each time, we're getting a lot out of this, you know? And you can do little variations of it too, like do 3 pulls, ipsilateral, back up, 3 more pulls, back up, 3 more pulls. Shit, that's hard. Come forward, a little easier. I'm getting fatigued, really easy. I'm most fatigued. So progression. And we talked about the core recruitment. Core's on, core's really on, core's super on, and then it's tired. I make it easier. Those kinds of actions. You're complexing, you're compounding a bunch of different things together. That's benefit, right? But they don't even know they're doing it. That's the cool part. You do, they don't. Okay, so you're getting many good, you know, good things accomplished, checking many boxes as we go through that. Okay, the bench press. You know, let's go step up first, then we'll go to bench, okay? All right, so my step up. You bring your box over here. Okay, same idea. Rarely are we gonna be bilateral. We did a workout today where I had our clients bilateral for most of the workout. And I'd say that's like twice a month that we'll do that out of 8 or 12 workouts. The rest of the time, they're unilateral, one weight, one side, one tension, one side. So what I love about this guy, this is that 1/4 inch band, okay? And I'm just gonna take that guy and I'm gonna make a figure 8 out of it. I'm gonna turn it over itself, see my figure 8, and then I'm gonna loop them together. And so now I've just got 2 even loops, okay? You can also use one of these, and I'll show you. The problem with this is you stretch these out by doing this. I like these to stay tight for my hip work and my wrist work and all that kind of stuff. I'll show you in a minute. So this is a little bit more efficient, but if you don't have these and you only have like inches, those are way too tight for this. So this will work just fine, okay? Okay, so take your double loop like I had it and put it underneath your left foot, okay? And then make sure it's deep and it's in the middle of the arch. Because the last thing I want is this coming off because your face is on the opposite side of it, okay? And I broke a really good pair of glasses once, well, twice really doing this. Once with a band, once with a medicine ball. Different story for another day. All right, so the band is on, contralateral, anti-rotation. If I step up and then I relax my torso, okay, it turned me 15, 20, maybe 45 degrees, okay? It pulled my shoulder forward and it depressed me. It compressed me, okay? So there's a lot more than just anti-rotation. There's anti-retraction to neutral, anti-flexion, right? I'm gonna stay tall, don't let it flex me, and then I'm anti-rotating to here. So I'm getting a lot of benefit there. Let's take the other half. Let's come up, stay strong, but relax your lower half. It'll turn your hip a little bit, right? This is gonna stay strong, and the pressure, if I relax my hip, it rotates me off from that center because I'm like counterweighting the band now to stabilize it. So my knee can drift, my hip can drift. So even though the tension isn't directly opposite, it's a counter that I'm gonna do if I relax anything, okay? So I wanna think about heel straight down. I tell my clients this is a big soda can, and I want you to crush that soda can with your heel when you come up, like mid-foot heel. The knee's gonna track straight down the pipe, and it can't go outside the frame of your foot. It's gotta stay right over the frame of your foot. And then I'm gonna pull my band here over to my hip with a neutral grip. Neutral is really comfortable for the shoulder anatomically. Brachioradialis goes well to neutral. If it goes further on flexion, it likes to go to supination, but I'm only going about halfway here. So neutral works pretty good, okay? And it allows my shoulder the opportunity to retract to neutral. Not fully retract, just retract to neutral, which is my like happy posture position, okay? Now, once my tension is here, and you could feel it already, you're like, wow, this kind of hurt my hand a little bit, and maybe it's rubbing on your skin a little bit. Grab a hand towel or a face rag. You can put that here, or if you have handles, you can click on a handle, okay, that's fine. But just for this moment, go ahead and grab, pull to the hip, and then feel the tension as you come up greater, less, greater, less. Let's call that 10 pounds to 20 pounds. It's probably more, okay, but let's just call it that. Now, I'm gonna add weight on my unilateral side if I didn't have this guy. And so I've got an extra load, And as I come up to stabilize, my extra 10, my extra 20, right from the band, but I'm already an extra 20 pounds heavier from the dumbbell. So my 250 frame's really 270 now. Single leg, anti-rotation, anti-swivel, anti-flexion, anti-rotation, anti-protrusion. All of this is stabilizing in, and I'm probably 300 pounds of pressure, 270, 300, 270. I mean, this is rigid and tight. This is work, okay? And that's what I want. So let's get 10 of these, okay? You're stabilizing, you're like midfoot, you're pushing through that heel, you're dominant, and just feel how tight everything is. Like if I came by to palpate your arm, to touch, right? If I felt your arms, I should feel your muscles on. One more, okay? And relax. Now you should have felt glute, quad, rhomboid shoulder, bicep, brachioradialis, okay? Those are the targets. They're opposites, right? Opposites each other, because that's where my tension's trying to twist me. Now, in that same action, I could change the whole setup, the whole, kind of reverse things a little bit by putting my weight contralateral side, putting my band to the ipsilateral side. So let's try that now, okay? And this might rub on your skin a little bit. Step tall and return. Same tensions, same load, different response because I don't have the anti-rotation component anymore, okay? So let's show you just a couple of bits that you can progress with a client. We talk about more boxes to check, more recruitments to have, the simplicity of just a weight, it's always 20 pounds, a band, progressively harder. I like the bite and like teaching the hip how to engage and how to go and how to drive with a band because it's lighter, heavier, where with the weight, it's always 20. So I'd start with the band, then I'd go to the weight, and then I'd marry the two together in this setup, the second one, the one we just did. And the hardest version, I would cross-section, anti-rotate with the weight on the same side, and I would come up into that position. And everything's got to be on. Arms are on, shoulders are on, core is on. And think of the tension, right, that we're not allowing to happen. We're resisting all of that. So cross-sectional, just like we talked about from the beginning, right? Cross-sectional actions. Well, now I'm getting good at stabilizing that. So now when I walk and I carry, my posture's tall. I don't just slouch and give to it because I've been training it on almost every exercise. Things that we don't think about, yeah? Okay? All right, so step-up variations, anti-rotation, additional loads. Think about pieces there, okay? All right, we're doing good. All right, so now my bench press. And we're gonna talk about, make sure you guys can see my alignments for this. I'm doing this direction on purpose, okay? So I know this is super simple. And you guys have probably done something like this before, okay? But I want you to think about bilateral bench pressing, okay? 90 degrees out here when you come down can be really troublesome on the shoulders. So we'll rotate in and we'll do like a neutral grip right by the ribs bench press. Watch my shoulders though when I come down. When I'm in that tight, see how they're popping up? That can be a really troublesome position as well. So we can just split the difference. Turn them to 45 degrees, pull your shoulder blades under, and this should be like a happy medium here, right in the middle, where most shoulders are pretty comfortable, okay? So I've got 25 pounds in this hand, 25 in this hand. And if I just said go until I couldn't do anymore, at some point, watch the weights, at some point I'm gonna start doing this. You guys see that? Because at some point my dominant arms is gonna be like, dude, I can do this all day. And the non-dominant arms is gonna be like, I can keep up, big brother. You know, and so you're gonna be even, and at some point you're gonna break through. So I don't wanna wait until I'm so fatigued that I start to get that address. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go to a single, and we can do a single with a counterweight, okay? So this is a good way to teach people from the get-go. Just an alternate. I'm gonna do right arm for 8. My right arm is my weaker arm, and then I'm gonna do my left arm, which is my dominant arm. I do it second because it can handle the fatigue of holding there the whole time while this weight is being moved. And then when I'm done and this guy's fatigued, I'm gonna have to fight while this guy's like, yeah, even though I'm tired, I can do it. I'm stronger than you, okay? So once we get good at that, then we're gonna get rid of the counterweight, and I'm gonna wanna learn to stabilize my core. I still put this other arm up so I can engage and think about my two balances, and I'm gonna try to come down here. Now, if I don't engage my core, especially contralateral, because my right side
is going to overload. And if I just give to it, it's going to flip me off the bench backwards, okay? Because the weight's going to win. So where I'm going to be heavy to help me counter from here is I'm going to be heavy on my right shoulder, and I'm going to be heavy on my left foot, believe it or not, because I'm going to want to stabilize and like grip into the bench with it. So as I come down, if you bring the weight down and just relax a little bit, you see how your body will tilt, and it's like giving to the weight. We'll push with your right foot, it brings you back a little. Push with your left foot, it really helps you stabilize. And then bring your chest back to center and just kind of actively pull your core to alignment with your hips and with your feet. And so now as I do my single arm bench, though I'm getting that reaction that it's going to try to twist me, this is like anti-rotation bench press, right? Just like we did on the step, it's anti-rotation from an overload here, single arm bench, single arm bench. So I'm right-handed. You think like, oh, his right arm's stronger. It's not. When I do my rows, when I do my presses, my right arm fatigues out first because I'm more coordinated with my right hand, but I'm not as strong as my left. And this comes down to like every action that we try to do in our day, especially if we're carrying load. The grocery is the best thing to think about. And you know us, we're strong people. We're like, I'm taking all these groceries at once, right? So you load up because you know you're gonna have to do the keys with your right hand. You already have them in your right pocket. You know, if you're well prepared. If not, you're like, shit, I gotta put all this down and grab my keys. So you're like left arm, left arm, left arm, left arm, keys, one, the milk. And then you walk over and you put the milk down and you grab the keys and you do the door and you grab the milk. You come in, you've got 65 pounds on your left arm and you carried a 12-pound gallon of milk or whatever it is, right? So when we do that with everything through our day. I carry my kids dominant in my left arm. If I'm carrying weights and stuff in here, I put it in my left hand and I go to where I'm going. We leave our more coordinated and dextrial arm free to do more coordinated dextrial stuff. So the other arm, though is not as coordinated or gifted in doing those, it's actually stronger. And you guys probably have experienced that. Like if not, do something to failure, to absolute muscular failure, and see which arm kind of gives out, right? You will establish a bilateral dominance. You'll see one side is like drastically stronger. And if it's the same side, you're one of the few, okay? Because almost everybody starts doing that. The left arm's cranking and the right arm starts to fall behind because it just can't keep up. It's not as strong. It only does coordinated smart stuff. This guy's a little dumber, but he's stronger, okay? So if I can just kind of get down to the brass tacks and be like, I don't need to do all the fatiguing to get there. Let's just start with my least strong arm and let's do this in an anti-rotation. I want to get it while I'm fresh. And then I can do my dominant arm, my stronger arm, while it's a little fatigued, okay? And I can do that order. Eventually, the right arm will start to catch up a little bit. And the anatomy of the two, from years of me abusing and addressing stronger arm, coordinated arm, though I'm not doing more coordinated stuff with my left, my right arm is going to get stronger and kind of catch up. And on the flip side of that, something I work with my clients on, and like start doing more with your left hand or your non-dominant hand. Like do the keys with your left hand. Try to coordinate and do more actions with your left. So you don't have to be, evenly coordinated with both. Like I don't need you to be ambidextrous, but I would like you to have some more coordination here and a little more strength over here. And doing these single arm unilateral approaches, especially with an overload, right? Where I don't have a counterweight that's going to keep me there. Like there's a lot of work. And you see people cheat. They grab the bench or they hold the bench behind their head. Like that's cheating. You need to develop this core to stabilize on these twists. Because this is the same shit if I'm grabbing at something and pulling it, or if I'm getting something down and I'm moving it through. Like we may not do contralateral pressing a lot during our day, but we're in a contralateral weight-bearing position a lot through our day. And agonist to antagonist, one side of the wall has got to be as strong as the other side of the wall, or it's going to fall over to the weaker side every time. That's where injury occurs, right? So we have to look at this anatomically and like, where am I going to benefit? Let's just take one of these weights away and let you do a single, and you will see people struggle. And you could give them both the weights and say go, and they're fine. It's the core that can't coordinate and like hold them in place to allow the arms to do their work. So where's the weakness? Is it up here? No, it's down here. So we can address that. And all of a sudden, single arm bench pressing is very difficult. And let's say you only have up to like 50-pound dumbbells. We only have up to 70s. And I know what you say, like only 70s, but I've got clients in their late 40s, early 50s who played semi-pro football and then were professional hockey players. Like they're strong. So I have them doing a 70 with a double pulse at the bottom and no counterweight. They're struggling. They're sweating. They're red when they get done. And they're like, I used to do hundreds. I don't get it.
because I'm just putting you in a bad position, but I'm doing that to get you stronger. Like we're doing that on purpose, you know, on purpose to get you there. Okay, I got 7 minutes. What do I have left? I want to do the sit to stand. We already did the elevated bridge. Really, I got the sit to stand in the alternating push-up. So let's do that one. Mini band. Okay, go ahead and grab that guy. And this is called a reverse push-up. You guys have probably done something like this before. Both hands in, thumbs in too. Okay, you want it all the way in the band like so. When you leave your thumb out, it puts pressure back on the thumb and it hurts. So I want your thumbs in there. And I want you to envision, I call this a wall-based reverse push-up. So envision, this is a wall here for me. I have to manipulate and move you guys around. So envision this a wall. I'm gonna put my hands on the wall at shoulder height. And I wanna push my left hand into the wall while I withdraw my right thumb to my chest. And then I'm gonna come forward with my right, I'm gonna push that one into the wall, and I'm gonna withdraw the opposite. Push, withdraw, push, withdraw. And then once we kind of get the hang of it and they understand the idea of pushing into the wall, we don't need the wall anymore. Because I'd rather do it just like I showed you. Push, return, push, return, push, return. Where I'm getting an arm that'll stabilize and hold while the other one does the action. Because think of it like a bow and arrow. If I pull back on the bow, you're like, man, this is tough. We think about this action. We don't think about the arm that's bracing. A good bow and arrow will pull apart evenly on both. It won't stay and then be withdrawn. There's too much rotation and torsion from here. You want to push forward and pull back and meet in the middle. Same action with this. I want to be able to push forward and pull back and meet in the middle. Push forward, pull back, and meet in the middle. And then I'm getting a protrusion, a muscular protrusion of my left arm. Because remember, protrusion isn't bad. Under load maybe, but protrusion, retraction, like protruding and retracting, this is good dexterity. Like I want to have mobility and dexterity in my shoulder joint to allow me to do this stuff, okay? When we're so like, oh, we got to pull back, we got to pull back, we got to pull back, then you start getting locked back there. And then we're doing the peacock walk everywhere we go. We don't have the dexterity and the mobility in the shoulder to be free. So I want that free and that mobility in case of, you know, the need to be able to move like that without injury, you've got it, okay? So I'm gonna push and protrude, withdraw, and tuck my right shoulder back in. So I'm going like back and in, like trying to take the peak, the point of the scapula in the back. And I wanna put it like down into my pocket. So it's gonna come down, back and down. I'm protruded, and then I'm gonna pull it back and down, okay? So try this. I want you to push and protrude your left hand forward, and we should have extension in the shoulder. I wanna see you reach. And then when you go to pull back, pull your shoulder back first, and then tuck that shoulder blade down into your pocket, and then protrude it, and do the other side. Withdraw, pull down, and pack it in. And so see how the band, like my hands are just slightly up in front of me? That's gonna help me with that downward angle that I wanna pull to. So that's why I like to teach it on the wall, where it's like just above or just at shoulder height. So they get the idea of what it feels like to push and then withdraw, and they'll have them move their hands up a little, and then they'll kind of get that same action, and then we'll move off the wall. And so now they're getting this. So give me like 20 of these. You ready? Okay, here we go. Arms up, shoulder height, go 2 inches or 3 inches above. And then when you're ready, let's go. Right, left, right, left. And think about that shoulder blade down in the pocket, down in the pocket, down in the pocket every time. It's got to follow that action each time. So you're tucking in, and you're going to feel between the shoulder blades, the rhomboids. You feel posterior delt, especially your teres major, teres minor. You feel your lats are working, your serratus is getting a lot of mobility. You're going to feel your chest, you're going to feel your pec, you're going to feel, whoo, you're going to feel your deltoids. Every once in a while it'll roll on you. That's from me not keeping my thumb in there tucked enough, okay? 3, 2, and 1. Okay, and so we get action from the front pushing, lots of action from the back pulling. And so we're doing this, the sexy walk, right? We're getting a lot of action there that's addressing all the boxes we want. Mobility, stability, dexterity, strength, progression, right? Range of motion. You feel it in your hands too? How much pressure you had to put away, right? That's an extended position, guys. That opens the carpal tunnel. This is an anti-arthritic component. The more stuff you do closed and forward with your clients, the worse they are gonna be. You're pinching this nerve, you're closing the carpal tunnel. Though the forearms look nice, right? We're doing them a disservice. And you can see that tunnel collapse. You guys see it? You see it collapse, right? Look at the angle that I'm at. See, it's collapsing. So I want it to be straight if I am gripping,
But if I go into opening my hand and then extending the wrist, see how that opens up here? Think of how much you do every day. You, let alone the client who just sits and types for 8 hours. We're up doing stuff at least, okay? And then we do a little bit of typing after. But think about being like forward, flexed, and then doing all this stuff all day long, right? And the thing, we grab our phone, we're in that same position doing that. We're always forward flexed, okay? That's why we have so many carpal tunnel. When we sleep, our body naturally folds into that position. Our tendons are tighter, the mechanical advantage is greater. So we naturally do this all the time. So if I can get into extended positions and get them really strong, the other side of the pulley, right? I'm gonna get this great strength development here. The opportunity for a golf tennis elbow is gonna go away because all that is an itis of a muscular tendon that's being abused because it's not strong enough. So every time I'm like, top spin, hey, I'm getting this down, top spin. And then all of a sudden you start to get a pain in here from that same muscular action over and over again because this thing's too strong. This side's too weak, it can't keep up anymore. So if any of those actions, golf, tennis, gardening, there's a lot of actions here from that. I know we're working with older populations, so I'm not making a joke. We actually have a program for gardening, like a specific training program, which in California is like 9 months out of the year, okay? So we know that's a big one, but that carpal collapse is such an issue. This exercise by itself opens up a ton, trains all the musculatures of the extensors, brachioradialis, bicep brachii, and brachialis. All three of those are going to have great components here, and then all the extensors of the wrist. You do a great justice of opening this up, okay? And it's just one exercise a day, let alone everything else you can do, okay? Which I can go on and on about this because I'm having a surgery on this from doing tons of that and tons of open exposure breaking, so internal rotation, catching in my middle two fingers, right? And not having the ability to keep everything square and straight and open. Too much of anything is going to be bad. So I did cleans and front squats and all these actions as a hammer thrower and Olympic lifter for years and just trashed my wrist from being so open and extended and not working enough flexion drills. It was the exact opposite, okay? So I've done damage on both sides from all these, repetitive efforts over and over and over and over again, okay? All right, so that's your reverse push-up or your wall push-up. And now my last one, I got 2 minutes. My last one of my faves. You guys see me here? I think you can. Okay, I'm gonna sit to stand. I have my weight. Make sure you can see me. Now you can see me. I have my weight in one hand, fat bell, dumbbell, whatever you're gonna use. I love the fat bells. I'll give you another talk about that some other time. I call this a kung fu rep. Weights in one hand, other hand just goes over the top. So both arms are bracing load, but the right arm's doing most of it because it's holding the weight. And the left is kind of like a kickstand. This is gonna kind of help me, okay? So I'm in a full seated, unloaded position. I'm gonna engage and stand up. So I've taken that load, I've elevated. I'm gonna do my transferred tempo. Smaller gait, smoother. I'm gonna turn to my left. I'm gonna find my position by looking down and seeing the legs of the chair between both of my feet. I'm gonna know I'm there. I'm gonna sit down correctly. I'm gonna re-engage. My gait control a little smaller, smoother. I'm gonna turn to my right this time. I'm gonna see my legs of the chair between my legs, and I'm gonna return. I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna turn to the left. So I'm practicing my abilities left turn, right turn with load, but I'm slightly overloaded on the right. And I'm also practicing my spatial awareness of where I am and where the chair is without having to look over my shoulder or move the weight away from me. I hold the weight in front and I look down. And that's a great initial reaction when someone's starting to fall. They don't look over their shoulder, they look down to see where they're falling from. You know what I mean? So immediate action is like, what's happening? And they look down. If they can look down and see where they need to respond with their feet, they can rescue the fall. And if they can't rescue the fall, hopefully we've done enough lifting to make them dense enough to where when they fall, they don't get hurt. They don't break anything, okay? So then I do however many, 6 transfers. Then I'm gonna switch my hands, come up, and then same thing, same direction down here to the left, look between, I'm finding, and I'm actually like in the action of squatting. Let's say I'm off target, turn to my right, and I'm like, oh, I'm off target. I can just shift over a little. Nothing wrong with shifting, okay? I'll come to center here to show you guys one. Nothing wrong with shifting. So let's say I get to here, I've come on, and I do my turn, and I'm off center. Whoa, I gotta get over here. Nothing wrong with that. What position is this? I'm getting in and out of the booth at Applebee's.
Everybody loves Applebee's, right? I got to get in and out of that. Like those positions, in and out of the car, park benches, right? I hate park benches, man. You get your foot up and over and they're always too deep. Like build a bench for somebody over 5'2", would you? Christ. So anyway, my venting, it's probably because I hang out with a lot of kids too. They make these little tiny kid benches, you know? So then I'm like, I guess I'm training mobility today to get out of this thing. So you're below, you're below parallel and you're having to manipulate your body in just weird angles. We're going to be doing that our whole lives because we're probably going to be around little kids, most of it, our own kids, our grandkids, etc. Right? Like those are involvements of our day. In and out of the car, in and out of the booth at the restaurant, post COVID here when we're able to go back to restaurants. Like those kinds of actions, those are daily lives, guys. Those are actions that you're going to achieve on a regular basis with people. And I can't stress enough like how applicable that is to real life, okay? But it's another one of those things of like, you're not straight because we're the coaches and we're like, everything has to be straight, but life is not straight. I'm going to be crooked as shit all through this day with everything that I'm doing. In and out of chairs, benches, the toilet, like nothing's really straight anymore. And we can teach that mechanic, but are our clients going to apply that? And they're like, I have to pick up the cookie sheet out of the oven. Let me get in them. No, man, they're going to put their foot back and they're looking. So let's practice displacement hinges, right? Like let's train for real life. That's what this whole thing is about, is I want you to understand the anatomy of what goes into real movement. Make sense? All right, I know you guys got to go. I really appreciate you being on here with me. I hope you enjoyed this. Like my wife and I were just kind of talking the other day and we were like, hey, I want to do another offering. I like to do stuff for free. And if you guys, number one, if you find value, please let me know. Either email me or text me or comment here. I'll get to see it. I love the feedback. But number two is like, I wanted to be able to give something that was real life, applicable to what we're doing. And she goes, why don't you do like a training session and train them? And I'm like, I don't want to try to create a workout for you guys, but I want you to feel what these exercises could be like. So it's truly like a learn by doing rather than just watch this video. I'll show you clients to do it all. And then hopefully you can figure it out. There's nothing better than experiencing it. So I hope you enjoyed it and you were able to set up some stuff and do it. Maybe it's not exactly like I had it, but it's pretty close. Oh, I forgot to show you with the mini band. Let me show that real quick. So you guys see this length, like the general rule of the band is not to double it in length. So let's say, here's my screen center. That's about as far as I'd want to take that band, okay? That's probably double in return. So if I don't have these guys, get like a blue or a black so you have more material and you can just hook that band under the foot and then do that for your step up. But you see how I'm exceeding double? Like that's going to tear up and stretch out this green band. And after 3 sets of 20 or whatever, this thing will be a ½ inch longer and it just loses its stretch. It's too light of a band for that action and it's too small. So if you are going to use a mini band, use a thick one. Okay. I knew I forgot something. All right. Well, I'm loving the comments. I'm glad you guys are liking it. I saw one question pop up here. Let me click over to that real quick. This was great. Thank you so much. Any chance of the recording? Absolutely. This is on demand, you guys. So when we get done, it takes about 40 minutes or so to transfer over. If you just click this link again, it just shows you the recording of it, but I'll also put it on YouTube. So you guys can check that out. Try these on your own. Go back and do it. I hope you like it. And, if you want more, you hear me talking about all the limitations and everything. Our limitations course, we're only in week 2 and they're all recorded. You guys can catch up. They're an hour each, hour and a half each, to be honest. So, I mean, you can catch up. If that's something you want to do and join us, I'd love to have you. It's probably the most fun I've had with a training program is because it's all live. Like I'm out here just doing this the whole time. So I love it. So we'd love to have you too if you enjoy it. And also I'm thinking from the responses here is I'll probably schedule a couple more of these because I really like teaching this and showing it this way. And if that's something you guys like to just keep an eye out, you'll see that same, kind of logo format. My wife's very good with the marketing and keeping everything, along the same style. So look for that anatomy of the trainer. You'll see the little diagram of the person doing an exercise. Okay, we'll be there. Awesome. I appreciate you guys. Boy, I love the comments. 3 thumbs up. We appreciate you. We love it, Robert. You guys are awesome. Please do more. Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. I love these. Please do more. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Chris. You too, my man. All right. Well, I'd say that's positive feedback. I appreciate you guys. I've got like 28 comments, and there were only 17 of you on live with us, so 18 of you on live. So I'd say that's a good thing. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for being here with us. Look for that recording. It'll be on YouTube, or you can just click on the link again. And I wish you a very good weekend. And if you're not working, get some rest. Hopefully next week for you Californians, hopefully we're back in-house and being able to train again inside the studio would be great. Anyone else, anywhere else too, that's being affected by all this, I hope you guys are able to get your businesses back and going. So, all right, gang, love you guys, appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.